The movie opens with Max Rockatansky*, standing alone in a barren desert, narrating how the world has fallen into chaos after the collapse of civilization. Max is a former law enforcement officer who has become a drifter, haunted by the ghosts of those he failed to protect. These flashbacks, filled with the voices and faces of his dead wife and child, are constant reminders of his guilt and emotional torment. Max's world is one of perpetual survival, where he trusts no one, always fleeing from both his past and the lawless maniacs who now rule the Wasteland. Before Max can fully grasp his surroundings, a gang of marauding war boys capture him. These pale, skeletal soldiers are members of Immortan Joe's army, followers fanatically devoted to him, believing him to be a living god. They drag Max to the Citadel, Immortan Joe's towering fortress, where Max is stripped of his freedom and reduced to a blood bag, a living transfusion unit for ailing war boys who need to replenish their energy. Immortan Joe rules the Citadel with an iron fist. His terrifying, corpse-like appearance is masked by a breathing apparatus adorned with horse teeth, adding to his godlike image among his followers. Joe controls the Citadel's greatest resource, water. He cruelly rations it, only releasing small amounts to the desperate population when he sees fit. The Citadel is a massive stronghold with a system of lifts, vehicles, and pipes all interconnected to extract and control resources like water, food, and fuel. Surrounding the Citadel are other factions, such as the Bullet Farm and the Gas Town, each controlled by tyrants loyal to Joe. In the Citadel's inner sanctum, Joe keeps his most prized possessions, 5 young women, known as his wives. These women, kept as breeding slaves, are integral to Joe's twisted plan of securing a pure bloodline. Among them are splendid Angharad, the most revered wife, capable, Toast the knowing, the Dag, and Chado the fragile. They live under constant surveillance, treated as nothing more than vessels for Joe's offspring. We are introduced to Imperator Furiosa, a hardened, one-armed warrior who serves Immortan Joe as a high-ranking commander. Furiosa, a woman with a mysterious past and fierce resolve, drives a heavily armored war rig, a massive truck built to withstand the dangers of the desert. On the surface, it seems that she is loyal to Joe and is leading a convoy on a routine mission to Gastown to trade for fuel. However, she has secretly hatched a plan to rescue Joe's wives and take them to safety. The wives have suffered for years under Joe's control, and Furiosa offers them the promise of escape to a mythical place called the Green Place, a fertile land where they can be free from the brutality of the Citadel and its warlords. Furiosa's decision to betray Joe is driven by her longing to find redemption and reclaim her humanity, as she was once taken from her home as a child. When Immortan Joe discovers Furiosa's betrayal, he unleashes his fury. He rallies his war boys, along with his 2 sons, Rictus Erectus, a giant, muscular brute, and the deformed Corpus Colossus, to hunt her down. The war boys see death in service to Joe as a glorious, almost religious event. They worship the idea of dying in battle and being witnessed by Joe so they may ascend to Valhalla. Among them is Nux, a sickly war boy dependent on blood transfusions. He straps Max, who is still serving as his human blood bag, to the front of his car, a tactic used to intimidate and bolster his own survival during battle. The war boys pursue Furiosa and the wives across the desert, leading to one of the most intense action sequences in the film. A high-speed chase through an unforgiving landscape, filled with explosions, crashes, and vehicular mayhem. As the chase continues, Furiosa drives the war rig into an enormous sandstorm, a swirling vortex of dust and lightning that embodies the dangerous and volatile nature of the Wasteland. Inside the storm, Max, still strapped to the front of Nux's car, faces imminent death as vehicles are destroyed and flung around like debris. But Max, resourceful as always, manages to escape during the chaos. The storm scene is a visual spectacle, showcasing director George Miller's trademark combination of practical effects and CGI to create one of the most breathtaking set pieces in modern cinema. The storm engulfs the convoy, throwing many of Joe's followers off course. But Furiosa, the wives, and Max emerge alive on the other side. Max, now free from Nux, stumbles upon the war rig and tries to commandeer it for himself. This leads to a tense confrontation between Max and Furiosa, both of whom are wary of each other. Max is hungry, exhausted, and desperate, while Furiosa is fiercely protective of the wives. However, they both realize that the only way to survive is to form an uneasy alliance. Max's journey with Furiosa and the wives is not just physical, but emotional. As he spends time with them, he begins to regain a sense of humanity. While Max is a man of few words, his actions speak volumes. He starts out as a survivalist only interested in his own life, but slowly begins to care about the plight of Furiosa and the women. Meanwhile, Nux, who survived the storm but failed in his mission to stop Furiosa, becomes consumed by self-loathing. He returns to the war rig, hiding among its passengers. It is here that one of the wives, Capable, discovers him. Instead of killing him or leaving him behind, she shows him an act of compassion. Capable listens to Nux's despair over his failure to die gloriously in battle for Joe. But instead of belittling him, she offers empathy and tenderness. This kindness sparks a transformation in Nux. He begins to question his blind devotion to Joe and starts to see that there may be a different way to live. Nux's redemption arc is a key emotional thread in the film, illustrating how kindness and understanding can change even the most indoctrinated individuals. As the group continues their journey, they enter a swampland, a muddy, eerie place filled with dead trees and crows. It becomes clear that this is not the fertile green place that Furiosa remembers. Instead, it is a toxic wasteland ravaged by the same forces that destroyed the rest of the world. The dream of reaching a paradise seems shattered. In this wasteland, Furiosa encounters the Vuvolini, a tribe of older women who were once part of her people. These women are fierce survivors, hardened by years of living in the wasteland, and they reveal the tragic truth. The green place is gone. This revelation devastates Furiosa, who has spent years believing in the hope of returning to her homeland. Her dream of finding sanctuary is now dashed, and she is left to grapple with this loss. After this heartbreaking revelation, Max, who has mostly been a follower in this journey, steps up with a new plan. Instead of continuing to search for a new home, they should return to the Citadel and seize control. Max reasons that with Immortan Joe and most of his army chasing them, the Citadel is vulnerable. The group reluctantly agrees, knowing that the only way to truly free themselves is to defeat Joe. The final chase back to the Citadel is an explosive, high-stakes battle. Furiosa, Max, Nux, and the wives face off against Immortan Joe and his army in a battle that pushes all of them to their limits. Furiosa, who has been gravely injured, confronts Joe in a final act of vengeance. In a brutal and cathartic moment, she rips off his breathing mask, effectively killing him and symbolizing the end of his reign of terror. As the group makes their final push toward the Citadel, Nux chooses to sacrifice himself for the greater good. He crashes the war rig into a narrow canyon, blocking Joe's remaining forces from following. Nux's death is a heroic moment, marking the completion of his transformation from a brainwashed soldier to a selfless hero. With Immortan Joe dead, Furiosa, Max, and the wives return to the Citadel. The people of the Citadel, long oppressed and denied access to water, see Joe's lifeless body and realize that their tyrant is no more. The gates to the Citadel are opened. We'll leave the thrilling conclusion for you to discover if you haven't seen the film. But the final act of Mad Max Fury Road is a breathtaking display of action, heart, and redemption, cementing its place as one of the most iconic films of the decade. That's a wrap on our full breakdown of Mad Max Fury Road. We hope you enjoyed this detailed journey through one of the most visually stunning and action-packed films of all time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to catch more in-depth movie recaps. Here on Film Flip Recap. See you in the next video.